In this video I would like to share with you how I carry my Swiss knife in planes, in airports. It's actually funny. Most people whom I have met, they think that it's impossible to take knife with you in a plane, in your hand luggage. But it is actually possible if you know what to do, how to do it. This knife, I find it extremely useful and versatile, and I always take it with me. I would do it even if I had only this blade and nothing else. But here I have even more. I have a drill. I have a hook, very sturdy, which I could use for a few purposes. I have a toothpick. I have tweezers, a bottle opener and a bit stupid screwdriver, a can opener, then scissors, which is a really useful thing for many things, not just your nails, fingernails, and then two knives, one small, which is a small one, which is a little bit blunt. I use it for all kind of raw jobs where I would lose the sharpening of the knife if I use the good knife, so I use this thing. And the good knife, the sharp one, which I always keep sharpened very well. Maybe I'll make one other video one day how I sharpen knives on the go while traveling. But even if I had only this blade, I would always take it with me. There are so many uses of it, and it's so useful to have it. So, how I take it with me in airplane? I'm not exactly sure about all the world countries. Might be different in some other country, but in Europe, in European Union regulation, it says that you can take blades which are less than 6 centimeters on board in your hand luggage. So this blade, from the base here to the tip of the blade, must be less than 6 centimeters. Or in case of scissors, it's measured from fulcrum, how do you call that hinge of the scissors, from that point to the tip of the blade, so it's definitely less here. So less than 6 centimeters is officially allowed. For that purpose, I have shortened this knife. It was a bit longer than 6 centimeters. That's why the shape isn't ideal, because I shortened it. I shortened it even 2 millimeters less than 6 centimeters, just in case there is somebody whose measurement isn't precise and the mood is bad and he's checking me to be definitely sure it fits under the 6 centimeters. So technically that should be enough. You just carry it with you and you go, but there are few problems with it. Most people don't know that it's allowed to carry your knife on a plane if it's less than the allowed limit. And quite often also the security, the people who work in security check, quite often they don't know it as well. I have long lost count how many times security guards have immediately saw my knife and they immediately say, this is not allowed. You'll have to check it in your check-in luggage, which is another way how to say, I will just confiscate it from you. And usually they're very, how do you say it? They're very sure that they speak the truth and that you're not allowed to carry knife on board, which kind of seems logical if you consider what other items they prohibit you to take on board. Then this knife would be kind of worse than that, you might think. But no, it's allowed. It's within the limits. So, the it depends, of course, in which country are you. Like, I was born in Soviet Union, while it still was Soviet Union, a country which was one big prison, where nobody had any rights at all, unless the Communist Party thought you might have some rights at some days. You didn't have any rights. Whole country was based on fear, kept together with fear. And we were taught, when I was going to school, we were taught that nobody of us has any value in ourselves. We have only as much value as we are these small nuts and bolts in the bigger mechanism for the glory of Lenin and the Communist Party. That's what I was taught when I was at school. So because of that, I grew up with thinking that you never question authorities. You never disagree. Whatever they say, you just agree and say, yes, whatever we will tell. And you bow down and you accept anything. And of course, if you are in a country which is a totalitarian regime, then it might be a good strategy, because there is no rule of law and you are completely at the mercy of the person who has caught you for whatever reason, like in security check. And in that case, definitely, yeah, you are at complete mercy of them, and you better negotiate, you better try to cause fatherly, merciful feelings in that person if you can, and you might escape, and try never to get to fall into another official's hands as long as you can, avoiding falling into somebody's hands. That's in a totalitarian regime. In a majority of world where the system is built for extracting as many bribes as you can so the officials can live, well, then it's again different story. It's again another story how to deal with that, so you can keep moving still. But in the civilized countries where there is a rule of law, then everybody is under that law, even these security personnel and those people who are checking you. And in that situation, I have learned that you shouldn't be, as we were taught in a Soviet school, just bow down and accept anything. So my attitude is, I'm always polite, I'm always respectful, I'm never mean, or I don't ever challenge their authority, or I'm always respectful, polite, kind. But at the same time, I require for them to explain and ground these reasons why they're thinking that it is what they say it is. And in the case of knife, I know it's 6 centimeter law. European regulation allows 6 centimeters. And some professional security personnel immediately opens the knife, checks, they have these measurement like a card or a name badge with a 6 centimeter mark on them. They check the length and they say, yeah, no problem, you can go, have a nice flight. But quite many of them, especially the younger, newer personnel, they just don't know it. They say, oh, you're carrying a knife. No, you can't. You're not allowed to carry these things with you. And then I find that the best way, be polite, but the best thing is quoting European regulation, 6 centimeter, it's within allowed limit. And as soon as you quote European Union regulation, they immediately change their tone They don't say, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, these things are not allowed." They immediately change their tone. Sometimes they find out themselves that yeah, it is really a regulation which allows it, and then they give the knife back, and happy flight. Quite sometimes, if they're more stubborn, they still say no, it's not allowed. Still, it's knife, sharp, blah blah blah. It's a weapon, blah blah blah. You're not allowed. Then I politely ask for them to call their supervisor or manager, and these guys are usually more professional and more knowledgeable. They always come, measure, give me the knife, and wish me a good flight. And that's the usual scenario, and because of that I never even leave this knife in my bag, just to save them from digging up all my bag. I always leave it out just like this in a visible place, so they see it, because I know they will always find it anyway. So they see it without digging up my bag. They see it. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's more negotiation and more explaining, but it has always been working. And sometimes it takes more time and patience, because they're not always very knowledgeable and they kind of assume that it's impossible. One thing which I never checked is a corkscrew. British airports, they often say that corkscrew is not allowed in Britain, even though in Europe it is allowed. So in my previous knife I just bent off my poor quality corkscrew from my previous knife, and since then I never had problems. With this knife, when I bought it, I just cut off the corkscrew, so it's not there. I don't need it anyway. I don't drink wine, so no need for that. So, only one small note there. If you are in Britain, and the British airports are usually the worst in terms of security and all the checks, if I'm in British, I don't quote European regulation, and I don't quote 6 centimeters, because they're not in European Union and they don't have centimeters, they have inches. So I just say that it is within allowed limits of the regulations, which sounds good enough and which has always worked. I've never even checked what the British law says, but it always works. So stay respectful, stay kind, honest, and never take for granted what they say. You don't have to prove that you are right. They have to prove that you're wrong. And if I was in some country which I wouldn't know the regulation, and who knows, maybe somewhere it is illegal, maybe they have 4 centimeters or whatever, and if it was the case, I would still ask them to show me the exact regulation which says it. And if it really would say 4 centimeters, yes, I would then have to let them confiscate my knife. But even then, I ask for them to show the regulation where it's written. So it's not just somebody's feeling, like the man didn't feel like letting me on board with the knife. No, I don't care about feelings. I don't want them to respect my feelings that I want whatever. It's law. It's allowed, it's under 6 centimeters, and I take it with me and I use it in a huge many different ways, and it's extremely useful. Well, not as useful as my phone or passport, but I wouldn't travel without this thing. It's very useful. Okay, that's just, I shared my experience and my attitude about this, and I hope it might be useful for some of you, maybe many of you. God bless you and have a good day, and safe travels.